I met Heidi through Selena Sue. I am in Selena's Rich Relationships Club, which is all A+ star players that I get to hang out with, and it's super cool. And Heidi happens to be Selena's bestie, who also happened to be in my first masterminding pod. And so I've gotten to watch her as she's growing this amazing new AI tech company called Cashflowy.ai. She is the founder of it, and as you're going to hear, it is a labor of love in addition to being a super powerful AI tech tool for all of you solopreneurs out there, especially those of you who might be a little numbers phobic. So I'll leave it at that. Let's get into the conversation and she'll tell you all about it. Hi, Heidi. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Pia. Thanks for having me.
This is a long time coming, Heidi, because we've been talking about your amazing new business, not so new anymore, and how it's specifically for our audience. Why don't you just tell us about Cashflowy first and why you built it?
So, I'm an advocate for AI backed humans. When using AI correctly and strategically, we can increase our output and the quality of our output substantially while reducing our workload. There was somebody, I think it was maybe Peter Diamandis or something, recently was quoted saying we're headed towards a 2-day work week. Now, personally, I'm not somebody that's attracted to a 2-day work week in that I actually love to work. I'll probably be working the day that I die. With that said, I think that it's very healthy for humanity to create an environment where people can do high powered, high quality human output 2 days a week. And that's enough to make a successful, abundant living. And they can spend the rest of their time maybe raising children or rejuvenating themselves and preparing for that 2 days of like really high quality human output. And so a great use of machines is for all of our admin, our minutia. I'm personally very excited for the humanoid robots to be in our homes doing all of our laundry and chores and cleaning and cooking and whatnot. And so the way that I'm contributing to the movement and to the new world that I want to help usher in is by automating all of bookkeeping, accounting, taxes, invoicing, cash flow management, and making business owners really smart about their numbers so that they understand what is going on in their business on a moment by moment basis. And then even more importantly, based on what those numbers are telling them, they know exactly what to do, what they should be focusing on. So they're not just spinning their wheels, throwing a bunch of spaghetti at the wall, doing a lot of work, and that's not actually moving the needle. I want people to be highly focused on the right things and to have AI backing them so that they can be doing their high quality, good, high powered work in a small amount of hours each week, and they can be living their lives, rejuvenating themselves, be in their creative flow and all of that the rest of the time.
Well, you're speaking to the right audience. That's all we talk about at No BS Agencies. We're all about how can we make this more efficient? How can we make more money in less time? How can we raise the level of quality and value that we're delivering to our clients? That's what a lot of what we're talking about. How can we deliver more in less time? But this is part of that. And I talk so much inside Mastery and on this podcast too about understanding the numbers, understanding finances, how important it is to manage your cash flow well, how important it is to understand profitability. So this is right up our alley. Well, tell us what Cashflowy is.
So we are a software that essentially kills QuickBooks or FreshBooks, or if you're using something like that, or if you're using Google Sheets, we would replace that. And we replace a human bookkeeper. So human bookkeepers that are good are statistically speaking about 70% accurate. So our software already is about 97% accurate. We're heading towards, near perfect accuracy. And so you're going to get more accurate books. Also, if you've been working with a human bookkeeper, you've probably had the experience of emailing them a question and then maybe 3 days later you hear back from them, and usually they're sending you follow-up questions, and there's a lot of back and forth and time before you actually get your question answered. So with inside Cashflowy, you can just type in or talk your question, like, how many outstanding invoices do I have? How much money did I spend on software last year? What am I spending on, percentage-wise on marketing expenses on average each month or whatever, and get those questions answered. And also just accounting questions. If you have questions about accounting, you can get those answered. And so it links to all of your credit cards, your PayPal, your bank accounts, your Wise, like all the different banking institutions that you're using, as long as you're US based. And it reads, so we don't have access to your bank. So we cannot touch your money. We have no access. But what we do is we read the transactions and then automatically 24/7 categorize your income, expenses, create you P&Ls, create you balance sheets. You can go in and with one click make a change. So if it categorizes the expense one way, but you really want it categorized a different way, with a click, you can make a change. And then it has your invoicing built in. We actually just installed one-click pay invoicing, which we're one of the few systems on the market that does that. So what that means is if you're a business that actually sends out invoices with a lot of different systems, like a QuickBooks, when you send your client an invoice, they actually have to have set up a free QuickBooks account in order to pay that invoice.
I
That creates
know.
a
That
ton
is
of
so
friction.
annoying. I can't
So
believe
annoying.
that happens. And mostly with QuickBooks, but yeah, I can't believe
Yeah,
QuickBooks.
so we don't have that. You send an invoice, they click a button and pay, and they can pay via whatever you set up. Credit card, PayPal, we have all the different options in there. Eventually it'll be stablecoin will be an option when
What
we get there.
about bank transfer, ACH, or whatever it's called?
Yeah, they can set that up. So it depends on the bank that they're using. That's not going to work with all the different banks right now, but it's getting there. The technology is getting there. The integrations are getting there. But you can configure it like, I want people to be able to pay me these different ways. And we have the majority of them available, but it does depend on your bank. So then you're also giving your customer a lot of great options, right? So it makes it even easier for them and faster for them to pay that invoice. And then the system will automatically remind the customer if they haven't paid, if they're delayed, it's going to send out those reminders automatically for you and then alert you like who's behind. And then each month too, you can find out like who are your good payers that pay regularly on time, who are the people that are always lagging behind. You'll have the benefit of that information. Maybe even want to offer some kind of special to people, some bonus that they get if they're regular payer on timers, something.
Yeah.
So it does your invoicing. And then by the end of this year, we're going to have taxes built in. So you're going to be able to get your tax return done in just like you don't have to go find all your information because we have your information, right? You're going to fill out a very short form. And then we've got AI that reads the entire tax code and gets you every last possible deduction. And then a human CPA that reviews it, sends it back to you. So it's quick and easy to get your taxes done. And you're going to get the quality of a tax return as if you hired like a $3,000 or $4,000 CPA, but it's going to be at the price of like an H&R Block. So that is exciting.
Wow.
It's called Cashflowy.
Oh, very exciting. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Wait, I have questions. So you said early on, you said 90% accurate. Remember, I would say some of our audience, they probably have a bookkeeper, and some of our audience is not doing this at all. So when you say accurate, can you explain that in layman's terms?
Yeah. So what it's doing is it's accurately reading all of because we link with your banks, it's not like a bookkeeper's missing a receipt or missing a transaction, or you're missing one on the Google Sheet or something didn't get entered into your QuickBooks. We're literally reading all your business credit cards, all your business bank accounts. So 100% of those transactions are being read. That's 100% accuracy. Then the AI categorizes like, these are all income, these are all expenses with near perfect accuracy. Now, it will categorize based on the US tax code, like these expenses should be here, here, here. With that said, the US tax code, there are things that are a little subjective. You can take that expense and you can put it in this category or that category. And you can train the AI in those cases. I like it this way. That's what works best for me. Or I like it that way. That's what works best for me. So you're welcome to do that. But we're not missing transactions and we're not putting, like for example, let's say you gave somebody a refund, a human bookkeeper might accidentally not put that in, right? And so like you didn't get credit for that or they didn't get credit for that or, whatever. So those are the kind of like common errors that happen.
Gotcha. Okay, so I use Zero, and also pulls my transactions, automatically categorizes them. I have made bank rules. I have created bank rules because I want these meals to be for events and I want these meals to be under meals, which
Yep.
are no longer tax deductible. That's a different conversation.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's the first one that came to me because we just did a big event, and so I had lots of dinners that I was like, no, these are events, not meals. But anyway, I'm bringing it up because I'm saying, okay, well, I think Xero does a lot of that stuff, right? Like it does a lot of that automated stuff. It's pulling it in. I still have a bookkeeper reconcile the transactions against the statement to finish it. Is that something that doesn't have to be done anymore?
That's
Tell me
something
a
that
little
doesn't
bit
have to
about
be
that.
done for a solopreneur. So now Xero is going to accommodate somebody with a bigger, more complicated business.
Okay.
Cashflowy is really designed for solopreneurs. Now,
Okay.
that doesn't mean, it could mean you still have an assistant or something, or you've got some contractors that work
Right.
with you. It's a solopreneur's a little bigger category. It doesn't have to be just specifically
Right.
you, but it's more the simplicity of your business. And so for a business with a solopreneur simplicity, they won't need any reconciliation. It is going to handle all of that for them.
Gotcha.
And it's going to do cash flow projections as well. That's a new feature that's getting rolled out. So that's probably like, I mean, we have a basic cash flow projection built in right now. It's going to be a lot more robust in like within the next 30 to 60 days, where you're really, it's showing you where you're at. Like, are you in trouble coming up? Do you need to start hunkering down and get, working on the cash flow? So you're going to know what's happening, because what you have in your bank account is not the most important number, because there's a lot of money that you've already spent. It just hasn't come out. There's income that's booked. It just hasn't come in. And so a lot of times solopreneurs have no idea what they can pay themselves. So Cashflowy solves that problem. We help you get a consistent paycheck out of your business every single month.
I love that. Okay, so this is like the crux of it, right? Because this is what I love about it too, is that it's specifically geared towards solopreneurs. And the idea that it's basically going to help you get clear on where things are at any given moment, because you've got your credit cards, that's money you're going to owe, but there's cash in the bank, but there's money coming in, and it can be very hard to manage all of that and actually understand where you are. So what I'm hearing is that this is like gonna take all of that information together and actually give you kind of, you'll be able to just ask it layman's questions and it'll tell you where you are.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So you always, because I think a big thing I hear solopreneurs all the time is they don't know their numbers. They're like, I don't know my numbers. Like I, have an idea of like what I bring in for revenue, but I don't know what to pay myself. I don't know what my numbers are. So then it's very hard to make smart business decisions when you don't know your numbers. So Cashflowy is going to show you in a very simplistic way what your numbers are at any given time. And then later in the summer, we're going to be launching what we're calling Cashflowy Society, which is a free online group that are in a resource center. It's like a resource library / group that all of our users get free access to, that says, okay, if your numbers say this, then that means you need to do this. And then go to Cashflowy Society, and we're going to give you some resources from a variety of different experts on that. So if you need to work on retention, there's resources on how to increase your retention. You need to work on lead flow, there's resources on that. You need to work on, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure our number one goal is that A, you're always tax ready. B, it does not take you more than an hour a month to be on top of all of your accounting, bookkeeping, and numbers. C, you don't need to deal with a human bookkeeper. You can do it all in a very Apple-esque, gorgeous dashboard that's not going to give you anxiety like a QuickBooks. And then D, you always know your numbers and you know exactly what you should be focusing on in your business so that you can work less and you can always consistently take home a paycheck. You're not skipping paychecks.
Gotcha. So really getting into the habit as a solopreneur of paying yourself something every month and then being able to obviously profit on top of that.
Exactly. Yep. And
Amazing.
dividends. We want you to have paychecks and dividends.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I love it. So how did you get into this?
So I've been serving solopreneurs in a variety of different ways for the last 20 years in different businesses. I love solopreneurs. They are the backbone of our society. Somewhere, someone currently is working on a idea that is going to be our first $1 billion one-person business. That's in the works right now. And I think it's going to happen faster than we all realize. We have an opportunity right now to make more multi-6-figure, 7-figure, and multi-7-figure businesses that are easy solopreneur businesses where they're working, say, 30 hours a week. They've got so many different automations. They're set up in a way that they can do their high human powered, creative, awesome services. And they're backed by AI. They're backed by systems and structures. And so they're not overworking, and they're taking home multi 6 figures, multi 7 figures of pay. And if you look at just even the landscape of the world, the big companies like the Googles and stuff, they're hiring fewer and fewer full-time salaried employees. We're really seeing people create freelance businesses, creative businesses, and that's where we're headed. It creates, I think, a higher quality of life for a lot of people. So it's the largest sector of business in the US, and it is the fastest growing. It's set to double by the end of next year. And I believe in supporting them. I want to see more of them really make it. When I make it, I don't mean they're working 60 hours a week and they're barely taking home any pay. I mean, they're working 20 or 30 hours a week and they're making more money than they've ever made doing work they truly, truly love.
I'm right there with you. That's my dream too. I feel like when individuals are empowered to have a prosperous life, they're able to create value for themselves and their families. That's where the generosity kicks in. That's what these are the people who reinvest in their communities, not just with their time, but not just with their money, but with their time and their energy. So I couldn't agree more. I wrote an article in Forbes, like, oh my gosh, almost 10 years ago at this point, called The Solopreneur Economy. And I was imagining like why this was the future, because who wants to be a cog in someone else's big corporate pyramid, right?
Totally.
So that's where we're headed. Okay, I have a question. I have 2 questions. So could Cashflowy support a one-person billion-dollar business?
I think so, yeah.
Really?
Because it's not about the numbers. The
Right.
numbers can have as many zeros behind them as they want. It's about the complexity. So, we're not a payroll system, so we're not going to be able to run that. If you've got like W-2s and, all of that, that does get a little more complicated. Not to say that you couldn't use Cashflowy, but it's not like made for that. We're not made for big e-commerce stores that have 1,000 SKUs, that kind of thing. So like a solopreneur service-based type business maybe has online programming or whatever is really the ideal target market for Cashflowy, because Xero, FreshBooks, QuickBooks, they all have AI built into them. However, if you've used them or you currently use them, you know that their AI is kind of stupid. That isn't their fault. It's because it's hard to make AI smart when you serve 1 million different businesses, a lot of them really big. They each have 100 different variables. Making the AI smart and efficient is actually very hard. Because we're serving one clientele, we can make the AI incredible. So we literally are calling it automagical because our beta founding members kept using the word like, oh my gosh, this is like magical. It just works like magic because it feels like magic when the AI is really smart.
Yeah.
And we're able to make the AI smart when we're able to like really go in on a deep niche. And this niche is so big that we're like, why not just slay the solopreneur market because Xero and stuff actually does a quite good job for somebody who is a bigger, complex business, right? And you have more resources. You can pay a bookkeeper to do the manual runs and like all of the things. But for a solopreneur, they just really want something elegant and simple and that feels magical. And the AI is so smart and it tells them what they need to know and understand about their business and the numbers they need to know and understand, not a bunch of stuff that's like irrelevant to them.
Right. I love that so much about it. And the back end really is beautiful and easy to use. And the Apple experience that we all have come to expect, really. I mean, isn't that crazy? Like the bar is so high and Cashflow really does that. Okay. So then my other question was, as a solopreneur, your business and your personal finances are so intertwined. So I was a solopreneur for a long time. I would have business credit cards, I'd have personal credit cards, I have my business expenses, I have my personal expenses. Like, how does that work inside Cashflow? Do you put everything in there?
No, we want you to just put your business credit card, business checking account, business PayPal, all your business in there, and it's going to run. Then it can accurately run. When you're combining your business and your personal, you're going to get inaccurate data.
Okay.
So that's the first thing that we do is we say you need to separate out your personal and business finances, have a business credit card, and it can be a personal credit card that you just say, this is now my business card, and I just put all my business expenses on it, but it's a dedicated credit card, a dedicated dedicated checking account. You could have a dedicated tax savings account, a dedicated PayPal, your Stripe, your Wise, your, whatever all you're using in your stack. It should all be dedicated accounts for your business. And that's what you're going to link to Cashflow. And then you're going to get really clean, accurate data.
Love that. Okay.
And if something does roll through, like, I don't know, you're at the grocery store and you accidentally whip out the wrong credit card, obviously you can go in and manually
add it. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Of course. Well, I definitely love that it's super niche. I feel like that's also the future. I mean, I'm always talking about how important it is to niche your audience because you can be that much more specific and granular when you serve people. I mean, that's what we do. No BS agencies, we're like niche within a niche within a niche, right? 1 to 2 person branding agencies who don't want to scale with a team and want to stay profitable and stay small. It's like, but it means that we can be so specific and so much more valuable to that group. And what I'm hearing you say is that's really what Cashflow has been built for too. It's like, we know you guys inside and out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah,
I know you. I love you. I've worked with you for 20 years in multiple different capacities. I know what keeps you up at night. I know why you're not taking home a consistent paycheck. I know why you're overworked, and we're going to help you solve that.
I love that. And Heidi, what did you do for 20 years with solopreneurs that brought you to this place?
Yeah, so this is actually my 5th company that I started. I sold 3 of them. They were in different niches of solopreneurs. The last one was in the travel industry. So I worked with travel agents that specialized in either like destination weddings, Disney travel, things like that. So they were kind of a high caliber travel agents. We had a whole academy for them to do their marketing and their biz ops, etc. So yeah, that was the last one. But I worked in different niches within solopreneurs for the last 20 years in different capacities. And I knew that a big pain point with all of the different niches that I've worked in was bookkeeping, accounting, knowing their numbers, taxes. If you just look at the statistics, I think it's 79% have either cried or had an anxiety attack around their accounting and or taxes. It's at some time in their life, So anxiety is incredibly high. They were spending an enormous amount of money, either because they had an expensive software plus a bookkeeper costing, say, $200-$300 a month, which that's an enormous expense, those two combined for a solopreneur business, especially if they're a living wage business at this point. And they still didn't know their numbers. They still had anxiety. They still didn't know what to focus on in their business. And so, the ones that were spending more didn't necessarily produce any better result for them. Yeah. And so I started looking into the market and I'm like, why is no one solving this? So we just researched, and within all the market research, it was like no one was doing this exact thing that I saw for this exact market. Now there are good softwares out there, right? Like Wave and Xero and stuff, but they're not targeting our specific clientele in this specific way. And I think it's because they don't have the heart for solopreneurs that I have. They don't have the understanding for them. So they just slapped up some decent software that does decent accounting, but I know the heart of a solopreneur. I know what their pain is. I know why they're not taking home a consistent paycheck and that's a problem. And I know all of these things. And so I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to be the one that steps up and solves the problem and gives them the real solution that I know they really, really are looking for, not the kind of solution.
I love that, Heidi. Well, I know how much you care about your solopreneurs, and I know you've been working so hard on making this just an incredible software for everybody to use and make it really easy, because that's such an important piece of it. It's adding ease to our lives. How can people find you?
Come on over to Cashflowy.ai, Cashflowy.ai. You can get all the details there. We would love for you to join in right now. We've got a really special offer rolling out, which should be live by the time this podcast goes live. We've got some upcoming free masterclasses you might want to check out, and you can get details on all of our free resources. So we have free masterclasses, free playbooks for the solopreneur community. They're available at Cashflowy.ai/resources. Cashflowy.ai/resources. We have a ton of great stuff there, a profit playbook, whatnot. And then for the software, check that out. We've got a free trial available to you at Cashflowy.ai. So you can try it out and see just how awesome it is and how much love and heart we have poured into it and are continuing to do so.
Amazing. And we'll have those links in the show notes. You guys, like, knowing your numbers and having your arms around it is so important if you want to be successful. And the worst thing you can do is not know. And that, I mean, I've seen people not know their numbers and be really fearful and be living in a state of heightened stress and fear, like you mentioned. And then when I finally showed, like, make them look at their numbers, it's actually not nearly as bad as they thought. I've had that happen. I've also had people just blissfully ignorant, and then they get into a terrible situation where then they're like literally like, oh my gosh, I had no idea I was in so much debt, or I had just had no idea I had no runway. Guys, this stuff is solved by knowing the numbers. And I know, you know, our people are creatives and they don't tend to love numbers. Some of them do, but most of them are not as in love with spreadsheets as I am. So, it's an important piece of the puzzle. If you're going to work for yourself, like, you've got to solve this problem. And it sounds like Cashflowy is an amazing tool for that. So thank you so much for being here, Heidi. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.